For both coaches, given what's happened with Mike Leach over the last few days at Texas Tech and last month with Mark Mangino, do you think within the last few years there's been a changing dynamic with how coaches can interact with players?
It's your turn.
Would you repeat the question? I thought Mike was going first.
Given what's happened with Leach the last few days and Mark Mangino last month, within the last few years, there's been a changing dynamic with how coaches can interact with players.
Yeah. No, again, I can only be myself. I've had the privilege to be raised by great coaches. My dad was a coach for 34 years. My brothers are coaches. I had the opportunity to be around Frank Royals, Lou Holtz, Jimmy Johnson, Pat Jones, Jack Crow, Joe Kynes, just good coaches. And so I can only be myself. And I think our players, the one thing that they would tell you about our staff is, number one, is we want to be a difference maker. I would never hire anyone unless I'd want him to coach my son. And we tell our players all the time that we're going to coach you very, very hard. Off the field, we're going to talk about fishing, basketball, girlfriend, your family. But on the field, we want you to know that we're going to coach you very, very hard. And we want you to have the attitude, coach me, and coach me hard. And that's with discipline, with structure, be able to take criticism, be able to take constructive criticism. And again, that to me is a pretty simple recipe, and you look at all the coaches that I've been around, Eddie Sutton, Pat Foster, Gene Cady, even on the basketball side, Jim Killingsworth, they all had their way, and so you took a little bit from each of them, but you have to be yourself. And we're going to treat each player as if that was my son, and we're going to treat him with respect and love and discipline and all those things, but it's a tough love sometimes. We want them to know that they're going to do things the right way. We're going to hold them accountable. But far as looking across the country and looking at how they're handling their players, I don't do that. I hear what you hear, and I don't know the stories. I don't know exactly what's happened. I just kind of go by what we've done and how our philosophy, what we believe in, and that's really trying to make a difference in a young person's life.
I think that's one of the similarities with our programs, and we've had some of the same background. I've not been in the profession as long as Coach has, but I think the young men nowadays want discipline and structure and accountability, and you can coach them as hard as you want to if they know that you care about them and that you're going to do whatever you can to make them a better person off the field and bring them along on the field. And I feel like that you get a good if you take notice during recruiting when young men come to visit your campus, and if the best recruiters that you have are the players on your team, then I think for the most part, we're doing the right thing in our opinion. I don't know that anybody really has the answer, but there's no question that you have to be who you are. And I think these guys appreciate that. So nobody really knows what goes on in any other program. The only thing that most of us concern ourselves with is what goes on in our program, because we don't have enough time to really concern ourselves with what's going on somewhere else. The amount of hours that we all spend year-round with these young men, I know myself, very, very seldom do I get a chance to watch the news or read the newspaper about what's going on somewhere else. But I just hope that it all works out for the best in the long run for everybody.
Question on the left rear.
Good morning. Given the fact that you have experience not only with bowls, but your teams are also bowl experienced, but they're stepping onto arguably the biggest stage of all time, do you have concerns as coaches about the distraction factor, and how does that enter into your game business? Because they're looking at the biggest TV in the world, 20-yard line to 20-yard line.
I think the best thing that's happened is that we got to practice in the stadium. with the screen going, with the big screen, big TV going every day. So it kind of got us out of that looking up all the time. But it has been just fabulous. It's been awesome, a different atmosphere. But I think it's helped because every single day we're able to go in that stadium.
I would agree with what Coach is saying. I don't think there's any question that if we didn't have the opportunity to practice in there, you just showed up and played a game, it could be a little different. I still believe that once the game gets going, coaches, players, everybody, they tune in on to the game and what's happening on the field. But it's very different and very fascinating. I think if you just showed up and played the game, that it could be a little distracting.
Question on the front.
Right here, Coach. A big story in college football the last few days has been Urban Meyer. I just wonder if both of you would talk about how you balance the stress of your jobs and your family life and all the responsibilities.
Well, I'll go first because I know that there's going to be some more similarities there, and I don't want to have to repeat Coach again. But just for myself personally, that question gets brought up a lot, and I think if a coach of a Division I football program was to sit up here and say that there's not some stress and some concerns and worries being in this position, I don't know that anybody would really be able to look him in the eye again, because we have 125 young men on our team, and if you treat them like you do your own son, then you're going to worry about them all the time. You worry about them when you go home at 10:30 at night until you show back up at 5:30 in the morning. What goes on at that time, just like you would your own children. And I think the most important part of that is there's always going to be a lot of talk and things that are going on out there. You've got a lot of coverage with the media. You have the internet, and you have talk radio. I know for myself that the one thing that Kristen and I, my wife, have always grabbed onto, and I've just obviously done this completing 5 years, is that we really know what's going on in our program and the hard work and effort that the team and the coaches and that everybody's putting into it. And essentially, you have to look in the mirror and say, am I doing everything or are we doing everything we can to improve these young men both on and off the field? And then I'm very fortunate that I have 3 young children at home, and so when I go home, I don't get an opportunity to think much about it because they're wanting to play tackle football and everything in the house until we have to put them to bed. And I think that helps me as much as anything in the fact that they keep me occupied right until I go to bed at night. So I enjoy getting up every day and being around our football team. And there's going to be some tough days. There's going to be a lot of good days. But overall, if you have an opportunity to make a difference in a young man's life, if you can take them places they can't take themselves, then in the long run, I think we all win.
And I think there has to be that balance. We're all jugglers. You're trying to juggle that time. I think you have to get away. I think during the day, it's been good for us, the staff. I let our guys go eat lunch, go get on a bike, go jog. I like fresh coaches. I like high energy guys, and because you're eat up with it 24/7, like Mike said, we just can't close the shop at 4 o'clock. It can't be a 9 to 4, 9 to 5 job where we shut the door and we'll think about it tomorrow. That's what's hard about our profession, and I think that's what. I think Urban would say today is it's just 24/7. You're ate up with it. You want to win, and you want to try to do everything you can to give your guys a chance to be successful, to win, to be that difference maker. And it's every day. It's summertime. It used to be we go home. Let's go home for the summer and go get a summer job, and we'll come back and have a conditioning test. Those days are over. It's 24/7. It's every day. We're going to summer school. We're working out. Are you throwing? Are you catching? So it's year-round. It's a year-round thing. So I think it's more important. I have our guys take a physical. I want our coaches to have a physical. Diana got on me real hard about 3 years ago. You've never taken a physical? No. Well, go get checked. And so I finally went and got checked. And have a checkup, have a physical checkup. So it's just things like that. It brings attention to, hey, you better take care of yourself. You better eat right. You better get a little exercise and coach hard because you do have to win.
Question right here in the front.
Coaches, following the Big 12 championship game here, there was some concern expressed about the location of the clocks at field level and the visibility. Is that anything that you've seen through working out in Cowboys Stadium that you think needs to be addressed, Mike, with Zach, or anything ahead of time?
I don't see a problem with it.
Let's see it.